All right. First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua, Bashem Kakodash. Second, want to give double honor to the apostles of Jim, Master Rule of Well, and the peace, blessings, salutations to the hopefully elect. And I consist of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, you Native Americans, and U.S. Indians. Cares of this world. Going to talk about this. Those where you be edified. And those will. This won't be too long. I'm going to try to do another lesson after this. So, cares of this world, where am I going to start? Okay. Cares of this world, AI overview, refers to worries, anxieties, and responsibilities of life that can distract or overwhelm a person. Let me see. This phrase can encompass personal concerns like finances, jobs, and relationships, as well as broader societal issues. In a religious context, it specifically describes how these worldly concerns can choke out spiritual growth, as described in the parable of the sower in the Bible. And we understand, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua increases us, builds us, trieth us. Let me get that real quick. I think it's Sirach 2. Wait one moment. So Sirach 2 and 1. My child, if you're going to serve the Lord, be prepared for times when you will be put to the test. So when you come to this thing, we know we come from this world. We were born here, born in captivity, born the lowest, born at the bad nation of the world, the criminal, the worst, byword, proverb, and even amongst our people, a bunch of chaos and a bunch of things that happen amongst our people which has no really real meaning things of this world. So let me go back. Sirach 2 and 1. Sirach 2. Be sincere and determined. Keep calm. This is in the GNT. Be sincere and determined. Keep calm when trouble comes. Stay with the Lord. Never abandon him, and you will be prosperous at the end of your days. Accept whatever happens to you. Even if you suffer humiliation, be patient. Because a lot of things are going to happen when you're in this thing, when you're in this walk. Like for instance, us being ridiculed, talked about, being humiliated, talked ill of, women, a lot of, you see those other camps, you see a lot of women amongst them, but, amongst over here, you know who we are, GMS. I constantly see women come and go. Women don't stand too long, but that's part of the battle. It just it is what it is. It goes into keeping your eyes single. So again, be sincere and determined, because this is not a cool thing. This is not. You go on YouTube and pull up certain rap artists, which are the niggas right now in the NLE, NBA YoungBoy, whatever. But when you come to this truth, it's not talked about. It's not yearned for. It's not the thing. It's not, the talk of the town. Because this is the truth. And we understand, everybody that's in this society now, they want to live a lie. You want to live, everybody's full of shit. Everybody's a character. And everybody's really sincere. And nobody's determined. Everybody living a lie. So again, so your day-to-day walk in this faith, in this truth, is going to be tested. Things are going to come across. Things are going to be brought upon you. certain things are going to happen, but again, you have to stay faithful and loyal. So, yeah, even if you suffer humiliation, be patient. And shit, man. One thing about me, I always kind of been a oddball, the black sheep, whatever. So, it's not nothing new to me when I'm the talk, or people basically look at me like I'm crazy. I'd have been ostracized many times. So five gold is tested by fire, and human character is tested in the furnace of humiliation. Trust the Lord, and He will help you walk straight in His ways and put your hope in Him. And that's just what we got to do. All you that fear the Lord, wait for Him to show you His mercy. Do not turn away from Him, or you will fall. All you that fear the Lord, trust Him, and you will certainly be rewarded. Ultimately, in the times to come, when Yahweh shall put those crowns on our heads. All you that fear the Lord, look forward to His blessings of mercy and eternal happiness. So, and last one, think back to the ancient generations and consider this: has the Lord ever disappointed anyone who put his hope in Him? Has the Lord ever abandoned anyone who held Him in constant reverence? You got to remember, when you start from Sirach, the 44th chapter, it talks about all the great men that we speak about in this whole book of what we call the Bible. So we understand that, these noble men, these men that were guided by the spirit of Yahweh Shem Rashah, indeed they're great men. King David on down. So hold on real quick, bear with me. Cares of this world. Common interpretation of cares of this world. Let me see. Personal responsibilities. Everyday duties such as paying bills, managing finances, maintaining relationships, and dealing with health issues. That can be a burden, and they can burn you out. And sometimes certain things can overwhelm you, and you might start to, if a guy in his truth, you might start to think, what ways can I use this truth to make some money, right? Which we all know the scripture talks highly against that, making the Lord's truth a merchandise. Managing finances can also be a burden. That's one thing that a lot of men don't know how to do. A lot of people don't know how to do, women and men. But one thing for certain, it's one thing that you ought to know how to do so you won't be overwhelmed. Maintaining relationships, that could be man and woman, friendships, etc., families, etc. But overall, what did Yahweh Shah say? Who is his real family? And that's all pretty much I'm gonna say, because yes, we have parents, family members we were born into, but we ultimately know those aren't our real family. We deal with them accordingly. Friends we grew up with in this world, and our associates that we deal with. Ultimately, we deal with those who is genuine with us. That's outside of the truth, but overall, our real relationships are with those that are doing the labor of this work and dealing with health issues, which is very important. But a lot of things can happen to certain men, and they can bounce them right up out of this truth, and it's due to a lack of really just watching out what you've been doing. So let's ambitious in pursuit, striving for a career, educational goal. I mean, I've seen a lot of guys come out. Listen, man, shit. It was one nigga. I'm gonna just say it just like how it is. It was one nigga that used to come out, and GMS is here in Virginia, and not too long ago we found out this nigga joined them army. He's in the military. It's funny because he when he first came out he was chubby, and now this nigga's ripped up. So I can tell he took some steroids or took some type of over-the-counter prescription drugs to form his body. But that's one of these cares of this world. Striving for a career. You know, ultimately, striving for Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, dealing with the men, the brothers that's into this thing, they will steer you to the right path. So, one thing for sure, a lot of people have fallen out due to trying to find a career, a nice pension, or some money, right? Educational goals or other personal ambitions that can become a major focus. And a lot of people fall out because they allow their certain personalities or certain personal issues or dealings choke up this word and intermingle with this truth, and they start to more so focus more so on their ambitions and their careers and their goals more so this truth. I've seen a lot of men come and go. I've seen a lot of people come out, listen, and then they just come and go. They just stop listening. Material possessions, the desire for wealth, possessions, and the deceitfulness of riches that can lead to preoccupation with material things. You got to understand this whole system is rigged. You understand how Esau, those around money, um, does certain things according to the system, and everything is really out. Just is just deceitful. So if you really understand wealth and true riches, you will be focusing and biting down on prophecy, because ultimately, staying in good graces, staying amongst brothers, being in a good standing, um, doing what you have to do, focus on prophecy. One thing I can say, that's really your wealth and your possessions, your true wealth and your true possession. As long as I've been in this thing, it has been long. I mean, it's been long, but it hasn't been long as other men, Zaquanium and elders and apostles that been here way longer than me. But one thing I can say, since that, doing these lessons and just focusing on prophecy, I never really slacked. Yes, I had my shortcomings and things I deal with, but overall, I knew, the Lord will. I knew never. Basically, what I'm saying, I knew not to ever abandon the Lord. When certain things happen, that's when you want to really run closer to Yahweh Shem Shai and not run apart. I know certain things happen. Certain men get in a bind, and they start to question and lose faith and run away. Nah, that's not when you want to run away. That's when you really want to bite down and pull more harder and closer to Yahweh Shem Shah. Global and societal issues, broad concerns like political discord, social problems, and negative news that can cause anxiety. This is why ultimately, Esau has a lot of things just stirred up, lies and bullshit, and a lot of things that's just meaningless. He puts those TV shows on TV, and he just one thing about Esau, he pretty much shows and acts as if nothing is happening, nothing's going on. The infrastructure is a-okay. It's constant riches, it's constant wealth, it's jobs, and this whole system is a fraud, man. But then when you really just like go across America, you start to be like, hold on, man. Why they keep making movies in New York? Why they keep making movies in Hollywood, Miami, Texas, and these big cities? But then when you really just go amongst these different states and different cities and counties, etc., be like, hold on, man. Nobody's not really living like what you see on TV. It's all a lie. It's all a fraud. So let me see. I'm done with that. Bear with me one moment. Let me get this real quick. I don't want it. I don't want this one. We'll go ahead and get Mark. Hold on. Now, let me just get Mark 4. Damn. Bear with me real quick. See what it says. Got it in GNT. All right, so Yahushua explains the parable of the sower. This is Mark 4:13. Then Yahushua asked him, "Don't you understand this parable? How then will you ever understand any parable? The sower sows Yahweh's message. Some people are like the seeds that fall along the path. As soon as they hear the message, Satan comes and takes it away. And as he saw, other people are like the seeds that fall on rocky ground. As soon as they hear the message, they receive it gladly, but it does not sink deep into them, and they don't last long." Seen a lot of guys like that too. A lot of men, you know. Basically to them it feels good that they're just an Israelite, and that's they can just say, "Yeah, brother, Hebrew Israelite, yeah," and then they just walk off, and nothing else doesn't matter. Yahweh Shai doesn't matter. This prophecy doesn't matter. Your sacrifice doesn't matter. Nothing doesn't matter. It's just the fact that you know that you're the Hebrew Israelite, and that's it. So they don't last long. So when trouble or persecution comes because of the message, they give up at once. Other people are like the seed sown among the thorn bushes. These are the ones who hear the message, but the worries about this life, the love for riches, and all other kinds of desires crowd in and choke the message, and they don't bear fruit. But other people are like seeds sown in good soil. This is the elect. They hear the message, accept it, and bear fruit. Some 30, some 60, and some 100. So you got to know what you're into. A lot of things come about. A lot of things happen. So let me see. Hebrews 13 and 14. For we have no continuing city, but we seek one to. And that's what I'm saying. Our people are focusing and looking towards the wrong thing. There's nothing here for us. Esau has obliterated us, and Yahweh has allowed it to happen. Going into Lamentations 1 and 2. Yahweh Bashem Yahushua has allowed pretty much every possible opportunity to lift ourselves up out of this captivity. He pretty much cut that angle, because ultimately we are only supposed to depend on Yahweh Bashem Yahushua to get us out of this captivity, not by our own strength, not by our own mere wisdom, money, strength, might, whatever. We have to focus on prophecy, and we have to focus on Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. That's the only gateway. That's really our only tunnel. Let me get that real quick. And address let me see if this pulls up. That's not it. Damn. I gotta come up this time. Yep. So let me see what it says. Second Edges 7. And we'll set it for but put the case, the entrance were narrow and like a river, who then could go into the sea to look upon it, and to rule it. If he went not through the narrow, how could he come into the broad? There is another thing, a city is builded and set upon a broad field and full of all good things. The entrance thereof is narrow, and this is also the kingdom that's going to be prepared and set up. But in order to get there, is a bunch of trials and tribulations, fire. The entrance thereof is narrow and is set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were a fire on the right hand and on left a deep water, and only one path between them both, even between the fire and the water, so small that there can be but one man go there at once. So yeah, he goes on to say this is Israel's portion, a trial and tribulations. But before, again, when you look at every trophy moment, glamorous, glorious moment, it was adversity and trials. Like when you look at any sports, they had to go through, the how you say the regular season, and then they had to go into the other ones that are hungry and driven and inspired and dedicated and focused and driven up just like you. So it gets from easy to, and I wouldn't say easy, but you got to be dedicated. You got to be focused. You got to have that tunnel vision. But even when you get to the last bout, and this is the last bout because this is the last time we will be put in captivity. So again, this will be the hardest trial of all times. Going into that Jacob's trouble. So let me. I looked up what is tunnel vision because it's something good to have. So tunnel vision can mean a literal metal. Let me see. Read the other one. It can be a metaphor for a narrow-minded mindset. Well, I'm to read what it's. Tunnel vision can mean a literal medical condition with loss of peripheral vision, or it can be a metaphor for a narrow-minded mindset that focuses intensely on one thing while ignoring all else. In both contexts, it means a limited field of view, either physically or mentally, that can cause one to overlook important external information or alternative viewpoints. And one thing for certain, Esau wants us to be distracted, and Satan wants us to be distracted. Let me see. Figurative meaning, a mental state of being so focused on a single goal or idea that you disregard all other factors, consequences, or perspectives. A sign of narrow outlook or a tendency to only see a problem from one angle. Often used disapprovingly to describe someone who is unable to consider alternative approaches or take in new information. And one thing for certain, Esau wants, that he wants his wand, he wants that trickery, his satanic, going back to Isaiah 47, that witchcraft, what is it, Colossians 2 and 8, those philosophy, those ideologies, those things of this world, he wants us to be intermingled in it. But again, we don't conform to this place. Let me see. I'm done with that. Luke 21 and 34. This is the JNT. The need to watch. Be careful not to let your souls become occupied with too much feasting and drinking and with the worries of this life. For that day may suddenly catch you like a trap, for it will come upon all people everywhere on earth. Be on watch and pray always that you will have the strength to go safely through all those things that will happen and to stand before the Son of Man. So, be on watch, be alert, be sober. If somebody's drunk, they're staggering, they're falling. That's what the scripture talks about. they're drunk and they stack it, but not off a strong drink. Be on watch is it says an instruction to be alert, sober, and prepared. Often, yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me see what this says. First Thessalonians 5:6. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. For they that sleep, sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night. But let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of for Yahweh Shem have not appointed us to wrath, but to obtain salvation by our Lord Hamashiach Yahushua, who died for us, that was whether we wake or sleep, we should live together with Him. So again, we have to be sober. When you're sober, you're on point. So what I asked ChatGPT, what are some things the majority of Americans care about? Top concerns for most Americans: the economy and cost of living, inflation, wages, housing affordability, jobs, and financial stability. Whether people can support their families and maintain a middle class lifestyle. Two is healthcare, access to quality healthcare, cost of insurance with prescription and medical care, availability of mental health services. And, these things are important because, you want to be able to, something happens, you want to be able to pretty much be seen but one thing for certain is best to stay on point with your health and be your own doctor, so to speak. But all in all, like the scripture said, render to Caesar was what belongs to Caesar. Education, quality of K-12 school, which Esau destroyed it. And American education is the worst. Cost and value of college, preparing children for good careers. That's three. That's education. Four, safety and crime, community safety and law enforcement effectiveness. We understand all that crime pays, and Esau is for crime. Esau is for the criminals. This whole system is corrupt. Gun violence and personal security. And one thing, how Esau, this shit with his guns here in America is very funny. They want to say that they're for strict gun violence, etc. But just think about it. If here it is, criminals, they don't give a fuck if they got a gun or not, and they're gonna have guns. So what the fuck does it matter if you put strict gun laws out? Who you really hurting? Who you really supporting, right? And personal security. Well, I can speak on that, but it is what it is. 5, the future of democracy. That's, this is the care of American trust in elections, government effectiveness, and honesty. We know Revelation, 13:10? The dragon that speak as a lamb, Democrat, Republican. This man's a liar. He plays both sides. He's a joke. He's a lie. He has that news speak. Political division and polarization. That's 5, the future of democracy. 6, jobs and economic opportunity. So people are worried about job security, better wages and career growth, support for small businesses. And, we understand, everything's going digital, right? And ultimately going to the MOTB. So Esau doesn't give a damn about, and like I said, this forwarding process of the AI, right? 7, Social Security and retirement security, protecting Social Security and Medicare. Esau's cutting all of that. Ability to retire comfortably. Immigration and border security, managing the border, strong but fair immigration policies. Well, you understand, America's never been fair. 9, national security, defense, global stability, cybersecurity, avoiding war, and maintaining international leadership. Well, America's leading to World War III, ultimately unto the war, which Yahushua and Mike the Archangel will come back. It will be in the end with the multitude of the chariots and angels. 10, environment and climate, protecting clean air and water. Well, it's not going too good because majority of the water in America are brown, unless you go to Florida or unless you go to Florida. Managing climate change with different views on solution is all bullshit. Additional things most Americans care about: affordable child care, housing costs and availability, technology and private privacy issues, community well-being and quality of life, which Esau has destroyed all of this. So, there you have it. Let me see if I have any more. That's pretty much it. Let me see. Yeah, Matthew 6 and 24. You cannot serve the Most High Mammon. Matter of fact. Oh, matter of fact, let me bring this out. I think I brought this out. Hold on. So yeah, one more thing. So it said, therefore, thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. So in the Greek word for is haplos, meaning clear, healthy, undivided, sincere, simple. Let me see. That pretty much it. I pretty much got the point. So I'm going to wrap this thing up. Lozo, he was edified. And with that, I'm going to say shalom.